Call this meeting to order and we'll have a roll call. Of course, Mary's not here tonight, reasonably absent. Councilmember Villalobos.
Here.
Councilmember Allen is absent. Councilmember McLeod.
Yo.
Councilmember Bunker.
Here.
And Mayor DeVinny is present. With that, let's rise and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did we start this? The dude that is blinking.
Yeah, it looked like it was going.
All right. And so the first thing on the agenda is to go to an executive session to talk about our ETJ agreement with San Marcos. So if y'all would please clear the room and we will do that.
So it was on the front page of the paper.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh. The red button.
We're cooking. We're cooking. All right, we're back live with Memorax. All right, the special session of the San Marcos City Council regular, the Martindale City Council meeting is reconvened at 7:11.
We didn't close it.
Yeah, we kind of did. We got the time down.
7:11, okay.
All right. So, for the...
Wait.
Oh, we already got it.
Oh,
It's running.
okay.
It's running. Where's Sylvia?
Oh, we better, I guess we should call Sylvia.
Yeah, call
and,
Sylvia back in here.
And Dwayne.
All right. So, concerning the agenda item V2, 5-2, discussion possible action approving of the ETJ agreement with San Marcos. So a little history here for the populace. For almost a year now, we've been working with San Marcos in regards to some land that fell within their smart terminal where they wanted to put the smart terminal. It was in our Martindale's ETJ, and they wanted to be able to annex it into the smart terminal area and into San Marcos proper. And so we have been negotiating for quite some time on that process and whether we would agree to go do that or not. And we've come to an agreement. So what I'm about to read is a resolution that allows us to go off and move forward with that. And then we'll have a motion concerning that. So it says that the City of Martindale resolution releasing 161.59 acres of property located within the Martindale ETJ. Whereas on or about January 21st, 2020, the City of Martindale and the City of San Marcos enter into a settlement agreement. And whereas to ensure compliance with the settlement agreement, the City of Martindale is unanimously passing this resolution to effectuate the release of 161.59 acres that are part of the Onheiser property. Now therefore be it resolved, the 161.59 acres identified in Exhibits A and Q attached hereto, called the property, which falls within the ETJ of the City of Martindale, is hereby released from the City of Martindale's ETJ under authority of Section 42.023 of the Texas Local Government Code. It is being understood that upon passage of this resolution, the property shall immediately become part of San Marcos' ETJ by operation of law under Section 42.021A4 of the Texas Local Government Code. We're about to have a motion to go off and pass this resolution pending a signed agreement with San Marcos. So tell us what that motion needs to look like.
If I were to make a motion, it would be as follows. I make a motion that the City of Martindale execute that certain agreement between San Marcos and Martindale. That agreement containing the revisions as sent by a city attorney for the City of San Marcos today at 4:40 p.m., expressly understanding that the agreement leaves intact that subpart section of 35A, the bold and italicized language, the bold and uppercase language that Martindale required be left in place. And upon successful execution of that agreement by Mayor DeVinny and the city clerk, as well as the mayor of San Marcos and their other designee, that Mayor DeVinny then be authorized to execute the resolution that was just read aloud. And only if the version of the agreement between San Marcos and Martindale that is executed by San Marcos comports with the agreement that is approved by the city of Martindale.
I would like to agree with the motion as stated by our attorney.
I'll second it.
Anybody got a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. All right, moving on to item number 3 on 5.3. And this is an ordinance to call the city elections for May 2nd, is that right? 2nd, okay, of 2020. So when last we left our heroes, we were going to go do this by ourselves. Since then, some things have changed to the good. San Marcos Independent School District has to have an election this go around as well. There's been some discussions going on between San Marcos Independent School District and us, and San Marcos Independent School District and Hays County elections and Caldwell County elections. And there's a good chance, and I think it's a good chance, that later this week that the Caldwell County elections folks will change their minds and want to go ahead and run this election this go-round. So, there's an awful lot of language in these ordinances that tell us who's going to go decide on who the election judges are and all of that. We won't know this outcome of this latest round of stuff until Friday. We don't have to have the election called until the last day to do it is 2 and 14, so we can wait a little longer, but not too much longer. What I'd like to do is table this until the February 4th meeting, and hopefully we'll have the rest of it resolved. It would behoove us financially to allow Caldwell County to run the election and share the cost with San Marcos Independent School District. That would be a cost-sharing thing and would reduce enough to where it would be good for us financially, as well as the knowledge base of us running our own elections is not the strongest. So,
is there something that they could begin doing between now and then?
They being who?
The elections office.
Well, they're doing what they have to do to go get ready for that, on the anticipation that they'll get approval out of the county commissioner's court.
Okay. Would that happen prior to our next meeting?
It should.
Yes, by
So-
Friday,
so-
we should have an answer by Friday. I was
We
told
can
by
answer
then.
We can-
whether or not.
Whether they will or not.
We
but-
can
and they're
vote to
talking about
pass-
the elections being in May.
Yeah.
We can vote to pass this ordinance only effective insofar as the commissioner's court agrees to take on the election.
I
And
think.
that way,
You looked at this late this afternoon, and do we have some changes?
Yes, we're gonna have to rewrite a lot of this because the way this is written, the city of Martindale is gonna be doing everything, and it states here.
Did you get the new one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because we have time, I think it would be better to just wait and do it on.
Yes, it would be better because Pam will probably, I do see that you do have Pam here, but I was gonna change that to mining.
Okay.
But anyway, what I was gonna say, it's going to change where we might have early voting. I know it's gonna change where I have the 12-hour days. All that's gonna change.
Same location for.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe where Maxwell
It
or,
could be Maxwell for
302 could be
voting,
Maxwell.
For
Or
early.
could also be voting in 109 and Luton. It all depends where San Marcos might wanna.
So that's the kind of stuff that has to get documented once we figure out exactly who's running.
election day would be here, election day, ballot, the election day voting would be in Martindale.
If you're in precinct 301.
I can't tell you for a fact, yes, but from prior experience, it would be at Three Rivers
Gotcha, good enough, thank you.
for election day.
Election day.
It always
that can
hinged
change.
upon
It can change.
who's driving the boat. If we're doing this just ourselves, like we originally thought here, it would all be right here, because that's what we would do. But if they've got to go reach out to the rest of the county people that are in San Marcos Independent School District zone, then it may make sense to do it in other places. But Pam would make that call if she's running it. If we're running it, then we will be sure only to be doing it here. We're not reaching out to try to cover the rest of the county.
Okay.
So that's why it needs to be tabled and wait until we get a
Have
definitive
more
answer.
information.
So I'd like to make a motion on item 5.3 on our agenda, that the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Martindale, Texas, calling a general election to be held on May 2nd, 2020, for the purpose of electing city council members for Council Place 1, Council Place 3, and Council Place 4 for 2-year terms, be tabled until our next regular scheduled City Council meeting on February 4th.
I second.
And any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that leads us to our discussion for strategic planning workshop, which is long.
All right, city manager, do your stuff.
So we want to give our technology a quick demo today.
All right.
So we don't.
Hey there. In the year of our Lord, 2020. Good job. You pushed that
There we go. We're live. We're working.
Can I take a picture?
So I'm very excited to bring this topic to City Council tonight. This is something that I've been thinking about ever since I first talked to now Mayor DeVinny and Mayor Smith, and I think possibly in the interviews with council members when I was in the interview process, was inputting some strategic planning in the business of Martindale. And so what I want to talk tonight is making the case for using a community-based strategic planning, reviewing a plan of action and milestones, and then also have a discussion, some workshop items with City Council to get your input on some issues before we go ahead and launch this initiative. So some perspectives. National Civic League says some communities allow the future to happen to them. Successful communities recognize that the future is something that residents can work together on and create. However, only 62% of the cities, according to ICMA, have a strategic plan. Smaller governments are even less likely. Of those cities with a strategic plan, only 77% link it to the budget process. And of those strategic plans, only 29% involve citizen input as part of the strategic planning process. So we're taking some innovative steps that set a precedent for future administrations, future city councils, mayors to build off of, that is in keeping with best practices within city management. One of the things we have to ask ourselves when we go into strategic planning is, do we know the preferences of our residents? If our strategic plan is divorced from the preferences of our residents, then it's not going to be survivable in the long term. You're kind of chasing your tail. You almost become the tail wagging the dog in that sense. It should be the residents that are outlining what the strategic vision is for the city. That leads to the next question is, are our residents engaged in the planning and budgeting process? If you focus on the word engagement, most of the engagement we experience right now is, issue of the day kind of things, working with you, the elected leaders, or complaints that are submitted to city council. We provide during the budgeting process, public forums, public hearings, but really there's not a lot of input. There's not a lot of conversation there that really engages our citizens. So what I like to do is engage the community in our strategic planning. The key here in that engagement is education and involvement. Community-based strategic planning can serve as an effective education tool, and it also promotes a sense of ownership with the citizens. This becomes their plan. It also elicits the best ideas through collaborative efforts. That way it's not Jared Annable sitting in the back room coming up with some ideas that he thought of while reading the magazine on city management or something. This is reflective of the wishes and priorities of our citizens. It also helps us take angry citizens, people who might feel disengaged, bring them into the process and allow their voice to be heard in a constructive way. If you're building a strategic plan, you want it to have some long-range focus, and it has to be survivable beyond the current term. So when we're looking at how do we make our plan survivable for next city councils and mayors and into the future, the success is directly correlated to the degree of public participation. How many people are being provided input is going to allow the plan to stick. If it's only reflecting the views of 5-10 people, well, you're not going to have the residents of the community really adopt it and own it. If bringing everybody in provides a sense of ownership, and they'll move forward with that vision and have a singular focus. So what is community-based strategic planning? It's focused on collecting the best ideas that are most constructive and the most constructive feedback from residents. It articulates citizen expectations for local government, provides a foundational blueprint for elected leaders on community goals and initiatives, and it serves as a basis for the budgetary decisions going forward. What it is not the master plan or comprehensive plan. I just want to bring it to that.
That's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, the concept master plan, a comprehensive plan is a very large document, 100 pages plus. Those are focused on land use. This community-based strategic plan instead articulates specific strategic priorities based on resident input. It is also not a 10 to 20 year vision statement. Instead, it looks 5 years out to inform more immediate budgetary decisions, yet with a long-range focus. So if we're trying to have a discussion on zoning or how we want to change, that's something that the discussion we'd have within developing a comprehensive or master plan.
Right.
I think the last one that I considered was in '97. I think doing this is a good first step toward going there. It might be something that we include in our strategic plan, is to develop a comprehensive plan or master plan. Most importantly, it's not just another binder or stack of papers on the shelf. Far too often, strategic plans are made, a lot of efforts expended into it, and then leadership changes or people forget about it and it's not used in the implementation of our processes. We got to link this to our budget process going forward, and we'll explain how we're going to do that.
Okay.
Other benefits, allows us, and these are probably common sense items, but it's powerful. Aligns programs with citizen expectations. So if we have a program that's not meeting expectations, what are those? How can we adjust the program? Or do we have programs that are not really desired by our citizens. We can identify that and eliminate the waste. Also empowers you as city council to say no to bright and shiny objects that may come around. Hey, we should do this. Well, our citizens provide input on the strategic plan, and that's nowhere in our strategic plan. Also provides a common understanding of those priorities. So when we do get into budget workshops, we can stay out of the weeds and we have kind of a blueprint of where we need to go with our budgeting process. And it provides a basis for future planning. So, when coming together with a plan of action, I think it's always good to start with purpose statement or goal. And the purpose statement for this is identify the most important community priorities and initiatives to guide future budgetary decisions. That is the purpose of community-based planning. In this, the city council, my recommendation is the city council will oversee the planning initiative. And the initial phases, the launch, data gathering, analysis, will be conducted by me. Now, a unique feature is, in grad school program, I'm a Master's in Public Policy candidate in my last term. And so this would allow me to engage in a capstone project, basically a pro bono research project under a client agreement with George Washington University. So instead of going out and paying thousands of dollars for a professional facilitator, I get to practice as a professional facilitator and also benefit the city in those services. So, what will that look like? There will be key research objectives that are laid out. The City of Martindale wishes to undertake a community-based strategic planning initiative to inform future budgetary decisions over the next 5 years. The objective of the research is to inform the city of potential priorities and initiatives for future consideration in the development of the city's plan. So I'll stop there for a second. I would not develop the strategic plan on my own as a research project. I would do the launch and the data gathering and some initial analysis to present to City Council. Afterwards, we would develop a strategic plan together. The project, as I said, will include designing, launching, gathering data, and analyzing the results of community feedback. As far as milestones, this is how it's going to be laid out. Over the first few months in January and February, we'll work on launching the initiative. In March, that's where we'll focus our data gathering. April, analysis, and in May, developing the results and presenting the results to City Council. The next couple of slides includes the timelines and activities within those phases. I'm not going to read everything, but basically the launch phase includes developing a branding and outreach strategy, developing the methods and the research methods we're going to use to elicit that data, and coordinating with stakeholders for workshops and focus groups. The data gathering and analysis is going to mostly come from an online survey that will also be available in print, and then holding public workshops and focus groups with key stakeholders. In the analysis, we're going to consider what's going on that residents like, what do they not like, where are our primary deficiencies, is there anything that's standing out as noticeable that we'll want to consider when we're developing probably 3 to 6 broad strategic priorities and identifying those initiatives within those priority set categories. And then in May, presenting the results. After the research project is over and then initial data gathering is over, we'll work together in the next phases to develop and endorse a strategic planning document and get that endorsed by City Council. And then one of the ways to tie this into our budgetary process and have a out-year look at how we're going to implement this plan is develop a future year spend plan. So I'll call it FISM. It's a programming document, budgetary programming document that's used at the federal level, a 5-year plan. It's something very similar, I think would work very well with Martindale with some key tweaks to adjust for the size and complexity. And then have that in place and develop that in conjunction with our 21 budget. So if we get a start on this now, we can inform the budgetary decisions come this next fiscal year, for fiscal year 21. All right, that's kind of here's the initiative blast of information. This is kind of where I want to get more into a discussion with you. So first, branding and outreach. This is an example of the city of Baytown that used a very, very similar process of what we're going to use. And branding and outreach, what it's used for is to identify the initiative as something new, different, and something that people want to engage in. So for the city of Baytown, they came up with this idea of Imagine Baytown. They used it in their local papers, their meeting announcements, flyers, and other outreach. So here's where I get some feedback. I came up with some quick ideas on some branding slogans for this initiative. Envision Martindale 2025. Imagine Martindale Strategic Plan 2025. Chart the future. Do any of you have a preference on one of these? If not, I'll choose one and go with it. Probably have a few weeks if you want to give it some time to think about it, but I want to get this going probably in the next 2 weeks so that we can stay on pace, because I've laid out a pretty aggressive schedule.
I kind of like what we kind of already have,
Okay.
like the Believe in Martindale,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just because, I just think it's already,
So that doesn't actually belong to the city, I believe, that is that,
That's just,
you don't have any,
Created it, but
you don't have
I
any,
did it, but to help Martindale.
you don't have any copyright on it, so I feel like we should at least,
I think we ought to
Do that.
brainstorm on that,
Mhm.
I think we ought to think on it and maybe shoot you emails.
Yeah.
I think
So
everybody ought
one of
to
the things
put in.
the Believe
Those are
Martindale.
good,
Oh, sorry.
but, I kind of feel like maybe we ought to, brainstorm about it to kind of come up with something, maybe talk to some people and just, see if they can get some ideas, we can get some
Oh
ideas
yeah,
from
maybe you
hopefully-
have someone in your family that's a graphic designer or something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, actually.
This is a quick PowerPoint work, right?
But anyway,
So,
no, I
so
think
when would we want
the
that
designs-
input?
I'd want by February 4th have a decision on it.
Okay.
So
Because you
you need
want-
input by before then, which
I
would
need
be.
the input before then. So basically,
Right.
yeah.
So you want to come up with, you're looking at this as with the
So this would go
with the
on,
graphic design and everything.
So this would go on flyers. It would go on our website. We'll talk a little bit how we're going to do outreach discussion, and then on the next slide, in fact, we can. Let's just.
so
kind of
based on,
Yeah.
would you just turn it back one more, and let me just throw this out there, if I may. So based on our timeline, which is obviously short, I think each of us sort of have given our input, and so for you to have those recorded and noted, I definitely agree with Sonia about incorporating the Believe, because that truly has become what I consider to be a brand, and everybody sees that, they know that. There's parts of the 3 graphics that you have that I personally like, and so I don't think it would be a waste of our time for each of us just in this moment to say, I like this part of that one, this part of that one, in
Let's go
order to
around the
give you
room, do
something
that.
narrow, bring it
Is
down.
there a feature that you like on any one particular thing?
So since I started, I like the word imagine, because to me imagine and believe kind of go together. I like the element that represents a river in I'll call that number 2, going across 1, 2, and then 3 being on the bottom. Those are my 2 cents for the second.
Okay, Jan, how about you?
I feel like that the Believe in Martindale is one man's vision, no offense over there. I think we need to have a little bit more input. I think envision, imagine, and that this really is the Believe in Martindale. I think we're just kind of doing this to get input from the public.
Right.
And I think we need to have some wording that is towards that strategic plan. I can't think. I called you. I can't. There was other words that I came. Strategic plan might be a little too. But looking forward. I like having, and what are we going to look like in in 5 years, this kind of thing.
But using the term
I think
strategic,
strategic plan, I think it might be,
You don't like
what
that?
do we, yeah, I think it needs to be more simple.
but you need to be able,
I'm just-
people need to know what it is though. And that's truly what it is.
Chart the future, I thought that's kind of.
I see
And
action.
we want to
Okay,
We want
so,
to involve the community too.
Mike,
so-
you got,
Well, I'm like an old broken record here.
Uh-uh.
I'm a park guy. I'm a river guy. I want to see a big river right there with a beautiful park with hike and bike trails. If I could put that under the Imagine Martindale strategic plan, a beautiful park for everybody to use and enjoy. Expand that picture of that river, because Martindale is about the river.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
All right.
okay.
Okay.
Sonia?
I like, to me, I'm diehard. I don't think it's a one man's vision, but I do believe in Martindale, and I've always believed in Martindale. And I think that a plan for 2025 that's showing how you're optimistic for the future and the decisions that you're making and working together with your community. I like the river, but I just think clean and simple, not too busy. Our icon, or I think, the water tower that we have there, the river, the Believe in Martindale strategic plan 2025.
Yeah, I like the idea of the water tower too.
Yes, the water tower.
And my park.
And I'll throw in my 2 cents worth. I do like number 2 over there, but I get rid of the yell out sunshine things. I don't think that's necessary. And I do like the idea of adding Believe in Martindale in there, because that's kind of what we've branded ourselves by. The only other thing that I'd like to say is I think what I heard you was you'll take inputs, not just the 5 of us, but everybody, anybody that comes. So, but we need to set a date, which would be 2/28, which is next Tuesday,
The 28th, so
to
the week
give
from
you
today.
inputs, and then you can have time to.
I mean, we could even make this real fun and interactive if the library wants to have, bring your kids and draw pictures on what this slogan wants to be. We can take something like that for inspiration, but.
Is there some way, how we have some forms that you can fill out, the public fills out if they want to do some kind of a form to fill out for, say they got some renovation of their house and they need, what are those?
Like a permit?
Like a permit or something, they gotta fill it out.
No,
And whatever, and their results is emailed straight to Sylvia or whoever.
Oh, yeah, in terms-
Utility kind of stuff. If we could do some kind of online thing.
Yeah,
I could help work with Sylvia or something.
Yeah, that's something we're going to discuss here in a moment.
Oh, okay.
I think when I was thinking
To
of,
get
I'm sorry.
something from the public.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the comment/complaint form can be utilized. I mean, that's an
Right,
open
same
thing.
thing.
And that does come through, so anybody could tell them to go to the webpage and fill that out if they have an idea. Or you could talk to your constituents and people and say, hey, we're taking ideas, just feel free to email me. Either way, I think,
Right.
Can you say the website address?
off the top of my head.
Martindale.texas.gov.
You go up there to
Martindale.
the favorites and you click on that and then hit the right one.
You need to put that on every newsletter you write.
It does need to be on there.
And we need to change it on that sign too.
So I
But-
considered the Believe Martindale.
What's that?
I strongly considered
It's a
it.
Martindale
The
sign.
reason why I didn't
Of
depict it
Main Street
here
and-
was to show that this
That's
was
a
a new and a different initiative. Also, Believe kind of makes it seem like that it's an action that's required instead of that's kind of heavier and not so much inspirational for the future. Like, why would you
Right.
not believe in Martindale?
Right.
Kind of thing. That's when I was kind of thinking through ideas. I know it's a brand within
Well,
the
I'm not
city,
saying
but I
get
was
rid of
thinking
the
we come up
brand.
with something. a little
This is
different.
something separate,
Right.
keep the brand.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's a good brand, but this is only for 5 years.
But I
The
will
Believe in Martindale is,
I will say, sometimes when you don't, from a graphic design perspective, when you want people to see something, often they see the font or they see the outline. So not using the same words particularly, maybe using a similar font. I like the differentiation for sure, but yet at the same time giving it some familiarity so that it is recognizable. And I think that's what, be it the font, the outer layout of the Believe in Martindale logo or
be
colors will draw to. And then my last bit is that just on literally picking the elements like we started, the arrow in number 1 with the 2025 pops. And I think that's important to see. I don't really see that in the other two. And I have to say, we don't want this to be a pie, how do I say it? Not pie in the sky, but we want it to be known that we are being strategic, we are being on purpose, and we are creating something. So I think from a branding perspective, you should tell people what it is. And so my thought was incorporating your strategic plan language, kind of swoop under that arrow in an element kind of way. Just as a notion.
Turn the arrow into a river or something.
Because that doesn't pop. You know, the strategic plan, if it's under there, it's there, but it does not overpower.
Impede it, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I think that's good discussion.
And number 3, no.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something that was very different, but it's a little, it's clunky to me.
Yeah.
So for the next item for discussion is outreach, how we're going to conduct the outreach. So I was looking at through using existing community organizations, direct outreach and indirect outreach. So community organization, I was thinking we'd reach out through the city committees and advisory boards, looking at volunteer groups like Friends of the Park, Friends of the Library, business owners and commercial landowners as organizations within the community that we could possibly, with their permission, publish flyers, or have display this initiative. And then coordinating with other governmental bodies within the city, the water board, ESD number 3, possibly even the school district. They have a pretty wide-ranging thing. I'm not sure how that would work, but it's an idea that I'm playing around with. Possibly even faith-based organizations. And then we talked about mailers, putting in our utility mail bills, community flyers, and then I don't know if it would be possible coordinating along with our census outreach. So if we're knocking on doors with our census outreach, also hand them a flyer for the strategic planning process. I think we're going to be a little bit ahead of that timeline though, but
yeah, I'd like to have like a street barbecue or something, and we
can
have tables with different ideas, and people can come in and say, sign a petition. We can have different petitions, and people write down.
It doesn't have to be a petition, but just an idea.
But come up, so that we can actually probably get some verbal and written feedback.
There you go.
So what's more important, roads or encouraging businesses or whatever.
Yeah. So any ideas on other ways we can expand the outreach and the discussion? My fear is that we put out this initiative and we say, all right, there's workshops and the same 6 people show up. And so we need to reach those people that might not otherwise be engaged, but might be leaders in the community in other ways in business.
I think a good challenge, and it seems like we may have done this in years past, where each council member says, you know what, I'm going to reach out to 5 or 10, whatever your number is, and make a real effort to get new folks to come in. So
yeah, because as elected leaders, you already are connecting with your constituents. You have those networks pre-built, and if you can leverage those, I think it would go a long way.
I'll certainly commit to that.
I think I like the idea of the coordination with the census outreach, because I just feel like if we have the people here from the census who are helping community members with filling out their census, possibly, getting permission or trying to use one of Carlton's buildings on the other side, right there, and then like having an area where you could get information, like on, different stuff that's going on in the city, people able to get input on what it is, having a voter registration table, maybe people need to have but kind of like a one-stop shop where you
Like
have.
Civic Day.
Yes, where everything.
Oh, we have a Civic Day barbecue and census, voting.
Where
the
it's
whole-
all going on, and I think I think that's very important here in this community, because if you're gonna have like one little thing here, one little thing there, one little thing, it gets people are busy, they're working in this area, they're having families, they're all having something, so they don't have time to come out, 3 and 4 to different events. But I think like one day, coordination with the census, well, that's with me and Mr. Deviney and our librarian, and having one whole day, like you said, a civic day.
The timing on that is kind of, I love these ideas, but when is registration, voter registration stop? May, it's 30 days before the election, right? So it's early April. Right?
For the primary?
No, for the city election.
Local elections.
Oh, well, a month before, basically.
Yeah, so we're talking about, you gotta have it by the end of March, you'll have to have something if you're gonna go include those in. The census doesn't really get started until April and May. We can give brochures out and say, we need you to go do that, but helping folks won't get you there. So you'll have to play that into your timeline as to whether or not we can fit that in. The good news is that if we could somehow come up with one of these citywide events every quarter and get in the mode where we do these kind of things whenever those happen, then it kind of gets built into the system. And that's a really good thing.
That is a good thing.
And then one thing that I saw that I think that's important is how some people during voting, they're intimidated by the machines. They might not know how to use the machines. But I know that in different communities, if you get with, with the election office and they have the voting machine there, you can get somebody to come and you just show people how to use it. This is how you use it. So I think at one of these events, it would also be important to have a voting machine there to just educate people on how to use it.
Could we, I'm going big, could we program one for them to basically literally vote on ideas and things that they like or dislike within?
I don't.
Ooh.
That's a reach.
That sounds like money.
One is developing a survey. It was going to be open-ended, and that's one of the future slides that we're going to talk about is what that's going to look like. But we could do something fun and innocuous, maybe favorite cartoon character, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny kind of thing. Or, I'm not sure how we would leverage it unless we had pre-baked answers or something.
Yes.
There you go.
Right.
It'd probably be on the order of a few $100s.
It sounds like Survey Monkey is going to be our best bet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
we
along
could just
that.
have a little laptop,
Tally
and
marks.
people do survey. We can have survey questions,
That's
and
right.
people go, "Hey, you want to take our
Any other ideas on
strategic planning.
outreach? I like this idea of Civic Day. I think there's a lot of things that we could incorporate into that. We'll have to coordinate with you on
I'll
the
help you
census
with
stuff.
it, yeah.
I assume the city website means a Martindale community page. Does that mean that's the same as, because that's where people do the chat and, no?
You're talking about on
We
Facebook.
should put it on Facebook.
Well, so if there's a community Facebook site,
We have one, yeah, we could have. that'd be-
the city itself does not, I do not believe, has its own Facebook page. So
No, they don't.
as members of the community and as elected representatives, if you want to put that on the community Facebook page, your own Facebook page, I'd be highly encouraged.
Okay, okay. I'm not a big Facebooker, so I'm just throwing that out there.
I haven't had a
What do you
for
mean you're
almost
not a
6
big?
years.
You're all over Facebook. You're all over Facebook.
Oh, I bet you I am.
All right, I think we got some good ideas out of that. If there's something else that you go home and you think of something, shoot me a text, email, so we can keep the conversation going. So as we talked about surveys, so the survey would be structured as more of a qualitative questionnaire with open-ended responses. Do not anticipate asking their age, where they live, nothing identifiable. In fact, like probably provide a warning. I've already submitted the language what that warning would be to my academic advisor. No identifying information or anything that could be used derogatorily towards you, even in your responses. So the first set of questions are focused on, hey, why do you like Martindale? Where do you think things are going? Why did you move here? And I think probably the most powerful question would be question 5. It's, if you're a king or a queen for a day, what would you do? Mm-hmm. And through those type of responses, being able to get a bunch of ideas, and then we're basically come up, hopefully hundreds of different ideas, and categorize them, what's similar, what's not. Is there a central theme that we can rally around that kind of goes towards that direction, whether it's community health as an issue, or any parks. So this would be available online and on paper, included in the utility bill mailer and at City Hall, and then with obviously a link to fill it out. The approach for the workshops, what I'm thinking right now would be public workshops from 6:30 to 8 p.m. every Monday during the month of March. And workshops, if we don't get the participation we need out of that, we have less than 3 people, we'll likely cancel that workshop and provide them the opportunity to fill out the survey and invite them to come back for the next week's session. And then focus groups will be structured similar to the workshops. The only difference would be that the people attending those would be representing a specific interest, like business owners and commercial property owners, or Parks Advisory Board and Friends of the Park. Mm-hmm. And so we could get a little more in depth in those areas that they may have specific interest in, and that might apply to the general public, but may not.
Can you put River Advisory Board also?
It's already on.
Oh yeah, this was an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'd probably do is coordinate with the chairs of each of those boards and committees, and offer to have a focus group session as one of their sessions. The only tricky thing about that is you run into Opens Meeting Act. So that's
you got to limit the amount of
that's something that I'm not sure how to tackle yet.
The way to tackle that is that we publish a notice
that there may be
a quorum
do that
at
Monday.
that meeting, and just do it every Monday
And
or every
Thursday.
And quite frankly, that should be standard operating procedure for all gathered events, be it focus groups or workshops going forward. So that each of us would be able to, if we all ended up attending, it would be okay. And, we'll just have to stay on point, of course.
Yeah. The one thing that I would caution members as City Council, if you show up to one of these public workshops, you're representing an official face. And so I don't want it to stifle participation in any way. If someone has a comment like, oh, we can't have any business development here, we always scare people away. And then turning a discussion, well, we didn't scare them away, they chose not to come for these reasons, and now all of a sudden we're in a discussion that's not focused on, hey, what's the big picture? Mm-hmm. So my hope would be that your ideas are able to be captured in a future session, maybe as a city council, when we're considering the data that's brought in or near the end. Mm-hmm. And then also you have the opportunity to reply through the survey.
And as a facilitator, I personally think it would be completely appropriate, say if you knew that 2 or 3 of us were going to attend, to say, look, there's going to be 25 people there. I want you guys to kind of be flies on the wall.
Yeah.
To allow the public to feel comfortable and, I certainly
put in their opinion without undue influence from us.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
I'd hate to bias it and take away from what could be coming in if they feel like they're
And
not going to be judged.
I just
We want
feel like it should
new-
be for the people. I feel like for city council, we shouldn't go.
I think your time would be well served to review the data,
Yep.
and because I'll be providing updates every other week, or
Right.
if we're having a workshop session, regular city council meeting, providing updates. Here's the things I'm kind of noticing.
Yeah.
That way, there's no surprises at the end, and then you're still overseeing the plan. And so, if there's things that you think might have been missed that you're aware of through your conversations with constituents that may come out in the surveys or workshops, you'll have the opportunity to make sure that's
Definitely.
included.
How about, can I make a suggestion? How about if you just have two? If you think none of the council?
Nope.
Two
I
or
don't
less?
think any of the
I agree, I
council.
think we'll end up,
Okay, that's,
yeah,
That's
it's
fine.
it's the public's, it's the
I
public's
think,
turn
like,
to speak.
Yes, like he said, we're gonna be able to review what was said through his studies and what he's doing, but I think like for the public to feel like they could just speak and just talk about whatever they wanna talk about. And like you said, it's kind of hard to be a fly on the wall in Martindale.
It is.
Not if you
Are you
have
saying-
self-control, it's not.
I wanna-
No.
So
Yeah,
you saying for
it's-
workshops, or what about their meetings, their actual meetings?
I'm
Their-
saying for his meetings,
Just not for
For
the
the
work,
folk-
not for their
for
regular.
his focus, for the
Okay,
focus
but not for
group.
the, say, the advisory
an
committee meeting.
No.
unbiased,
No.
Not
we
this.
need an unbiased person to be there.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
focus groups,
That's fine,
yeah.
no problem.
So
Not
you wouldn't
Not
have to, you wouldn't have to
He's
put it
not-
on
he's
there.
not.
Right. And
He's very
so
biased.
one of the things that I would want to be clear if people will participate, the response to their participation and what they say is not in any way going to affect their services that they get from the city. And that'll be included in the disclaimer. Like, if you talk bad about the city, and just because I'm also in another position as the city administrator, it's not going to change how the city relates to them.
And then like in your reports, you could just put resident one, or as they say comments or whatever, resident,
I'm
not
not
even
going to
refer them.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to capture names as part of the
No.
data gathering. It's going to be purely the responses.
So one of my questions that I have for the focus groups, are you only gonna allow, is it Martindale residents, or is it gonna be Martindale residents within the ETJ?
So I
Or
was-
how are you
I-
gonna do this?
So
Yeah.
I had thought about that, and I wasn't
Yes.
going to make a claim one way or the other. I was going to throw it out there and see who shows up.
Okay,
Heck, if it's somebody who drives through Martindale every day between San Marcos and Lowling, and they want to see, Five Guys on the corner of,
Who's to say they're
142.
not, who's to say they're not a future resident?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think we just kind of leave it open ended.
I'm good with that.
We might take a little straw poll at the workshops. Hey, ETJs.
Yeah.
Maybe we can
I
narrow
see
it
that for
down
sure.
as we get closer
Yeah.
to where we're getting mostly residents.
Well,
So
I think what he just said would be viable to just, if there's 20 people in the room, how many here live in the ETJ? 7.
Yeah,
How
okay.
many here live? And then that's it, that's all you
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Just to get a sense of who's in the room. But for the facilitation, the rest of it would be set up so where the groups were going to be, the people attending would be split up between groups of 4 to 6 folks. They'll give in a short primer on, hey, here's the state of Martindale. This likely is going to be at a high level. Here's what's in our budget. Here's what we're currently spending money on. Here's day-to-day operations. Here's maybe some of the little stuff, just so that they're aware, they understand what the situation the city's in, and so you're not having somebody come in and say, we want Disneyland, right? It helps. I think will provide some constructive ideas and not things that are too far-fetched. But I don't want to stifle those things that might come out as goals, because we're looking 5 years out, so there might be something that comes in the future. They'll focus on that king or queen for a day question, possibly others. And then the groups themselves are going to be developing ideas. And so if this was a workshop, I give you 20 minutes to come up with as many ideas as you would want to see in Martindale as you can. And then after that 20 minutes, ask you as a group, all right, how would you organize or categorize these things? And then hopefully we have enough people, multiple groups, and then give an opportunity for one group to brief the others on what they came up with, and then have a discussion, what similarities, differences, is there something that really popped with the group or not, to try to get a sense of this. That way, it's not me sitting down scribbling notes.
Yeah.
It's more interactive. Let's residents get to meet each other, be more involved. It's less like an interview and more constructive. And focus groups would be the same way, except with probably more targeted questions for that interest area.
But it might be nice to have a whiteboard so everybody can see
Yeah,
what's listed, or what do they call it, flip
The
chart.
Flip charts, we'll probably need to get some flip charts, so yeah, there would, some of these items I didn't include, that I'm thinking about is if, I'll probably have some idea of, costs of that sort of thing. I don't want to make
Right.
this a big expense on the city by any means.
Are you
Yeah.
good at keeping people focused on the topic?
You've been keeping
most
us
Instead of people coming up with solutions.
Well,
and,
this is
or
kind of like, this is a community brainstorming, right? So
Yeah.
you don't want to stifle the input. The only thing that would be, oh, I think we should have a Walmart here, and that should not be zoned commercial, this should be zoned residential. That's good input. That's not the purpose of that discussion.
Right.
There'll be other
Oh, okay.
planning sessions that will focus on land use.
Right.
But this is, what are the, if you want to see a big box store come to Martindale, all right, well, you can put that as a goal and consider it as a city council. Maybe that gets into a strategic plan and we invest money into economic development, outreach and campaigning and things like that. But you try to find a way to relate what they're saying to a larger concept or idea. All right, so for the next steps, we want to finalize the client research agreement, which will be signed by the mayor as the chief executive. It's currently in draft and in review with the university. Then design and produce outreach materials for online and print. And I'll start coordinating with stakeholder groups, business owners and such, and schedule focus group events and complete the academic research design and really codify those data gathering methods. So I may be reaching out for help with identifying some of those stakeholders that you think, or if you've come up with the ones that, hey, I think this person would be great, and make sure that he's involved, or that person has a wide reach within the community. If you're a member of a faith-based organization within the community and you would like to put it in your Sunday or Friday or Saturday flyer that's in your church or whatever organization you're part of, those sort of things would help also just get the word out. And that's it.
That's a good idea. I like it.
Great job. Questions? I have a few. Because I know that if in fact you did not have this project, which I think is a almost divine opportunity, based on what you know about professional facilitators, what would it cost a city of our size to go through and do this by a third-party person?
You're probably looking on the order of 10, depending on how many workshops you're doing, and also the scope of the project. How much of the launch and design are they doing? Are they bringing in
Based
graphic
on what
designers?
you're doing, literally.
Probably 10 to 20,000 is my guess.
So I just wanted it to be said, people tend to latch on to dollars.
Yeah.
So that this project is giving our city $10,000 to $20,000 worth of value at no additional expense.
Right.
So I wanted to quantify that. Then I could go back and look at the dates, but you probably have it memorized. When will the survey be ready that it could be online?
It'll be February 24th to 28th in that time frame, right at the end of February.
Okay, so that would be my request, when it is ready, for that to be, for an email to be sent to all council members, so that we, with a link and or a plugin or whatever it is that links it back to our website, so that we can begin to share it with folks, that they could then put it on their Facebook pages and such, and would drive all traffic back to our website. Because I think that's actually a good objective within this whole scope as well.
Also encourage them to sign up and have an account on the website, and you can get future news alerts. And
part of it as well. So driving back to that website. So if you can let us know and give us whatever link is necessary.
Another thing we could do in our citizens.
Yeah, so that will probably be the first part of March, is my guess. Because I want to do it early in the process. That way people don't learn about it at the civic day. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, wait, you only have 2 left? I can't make those dates. So probably the first week of March is what we target. Hopefully that's not spring break around here.
Not the
It's
first
usually
week,
around
it's
the middle
usually the
of
second or
March.
third.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't want to do while everybody's on vacation in the spring break.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Do you have an idea when they're going to have the census materials, brochures, and things ready for?
We just have to print them off the census. I think they have brochures, they have the documents on them.
Okay.
It's on the census webpage.
But you're talking about when
Yeah,
is
we're
that
doing
stuff
the
gonna start to
legwork.
become administered?
No, when are they going to have out their own outreach
Yes.
materials? So if we
Yes.
do have a civic day, are they going to have it
We will.
available?
Yes.
Put some ads in the
Oh,
paper.
that's good.
We're not having to pay for that. That's-
Yeah, the only thing we might need volunteers to flip burgers and we're doing a civic day. Maybe even some
Yeah.
sponsors or
Look at there.
Yeah.
there you go.
Flip
Yeah,
burgers.
hey,
I was
you know,
just
I
thinking
think
log
the
barbecue
election-
somewhere.
Election
we
registration
got some
for
fun
people who
ones
run
somewhere.
Prior to,
closes
What's that?
before they
We
right?
gotta call,
So
we
you
gotta
are-
Each
track the
candidate
people.
you're.
foreseeably have their
we're
own
the prime- are we on
After the
booth or
election.
something.
Yeah.
Why not?
All
I
right.
donated a keg of beer.
I'll
Thanks,
help you.
everybody.
Thank you, good job.
All right. I think we ought to put the
Absolutely,
agenda
thank
up
you.
every time we have a meeting.
Absolutely, we should put the agenda up every time we have a meeting.
Yes. All right. That was
And I'm all-
great, Jared. Thank you.
I'm also thinking, considering having our podium, now that we don't have to crank over here, if we had our
Uh-huh.
podium, so people could see the,
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to future action items. So when we put this out, we didn't have a local issue, but we'll put at point 5, up at the head of the priority, review of the animal control dog.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget to check your mailboxes today, because the new ordinance, the existing ordinance is in there.
Yeah, so y'all look that over, and we'll do that on 7 and 4 for sure.
7 and 4.
2 and 4, excuse me. And then the solid waste ordinance changes that we discussed at the December meeting. I think we can do that in 2 and 4 as well. And that's probably, between those two, is going to take up most of the time, and what other business comes up between now and then that we have to slip in here. Oh, and we also have to have the tabled item, the library call, the election call.
One item that I put out there for consideration is if we have a branding strategy or we're committed to this initiative, a resolution announcing the strategic planning initiative.
That's a great idea.
That way it's,
So
and especially at a
resolution.
regular session meeting, I think would hit a wide audience and give them a heads up that this is coming. So when they start seeing things trickling over the next month,
Or
they're aware of it.
A resolution to launch,
To resolution to launch,
to
correct.
launch this,
the 5-year
Mary Jane,
initiative.
if I may, I see that for the future items, but with some of these, like
Vision.
being so, like we have to look into them, and I believe that it's important that we get our community and feedback from them, listen to, what the community wants. I think that if we could separate 2 things for a workshop, for a special workshop, even if it is 72 hours from today, or if we could do it before the next meeting, but I think if we could do the library contract and accreditation process, and also for our animal control. I think if we lump those 2 things together,
take them out.
that way our meeting, we could have time on that, because I feel like with it being on a regularly scheduled meeting, that we don't have enough time with the public comments, because with these things, there may be people that do want to talk. I just think that it's important that we have a workshop for those 2 things.
I would totally agree with you on that,
Which
those are
two
big
things?
issues.
Yes, sir.
Because I've talked to some people and this,
this horrific dog
Which one?
attack.
Yeah.
I still haven't
Oh.
slept in a couple of days, and I've had people
What,
talk
the
to me
dog
about
ordinance?
this incident,
Ought to be two
and I
separate
think
meetings.
people in the public need to come and express their concerns, and also, if we have a bunch of people like Jared was saying about the community, I think a workshop would be for community, and we go through these documents, and people could make suggestions to improve it, or what can we do in the future, because this can't happen again. And I think I totally agree with you that we need to have a workshop, because it needs adequate time
Agreed.
for discussion.
And then like I said, it could be 72 hours from today. That not meaning that any action has to be done within the 72 hours, but I believe that, public ideas, discussions, just comments, we would be able to then go off and do our studies and do what we need to do, but based on what we need also for the library. I feel very strongly that with talking about the library contract and the accreditation process, that whenever we have the community that comes together just for, for that as well, and how important it is, I think it needs to be, that our citizens need to be involved.
So are you suggesting or recommending that we look at maybe next Tuesday for a workshop?
Not Tuesday. I would like either
Sooner?
Friday or Monday, 72 hours. You're here on Mondays, right, already?
Jared?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, I am.
So on Monday?
Oh, Monday this coming.
Yes, sir.
For the dog ordinance?
Yeah.
And for the library contract?
No, we're not gonna do the
I
library
would
then.
do both of them at the
Oh,
same time.
oh, I thought you were saying do both.
She does. She did say that. And I'm saying, no, we're not gonna do both of those at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Who does-
No, we don't need to be
Do
spending.
they don't control on Monday? That's fine.
What is
with me.
that?
That's,
I'm good next Monday.
Okay, that's fine with
So
me.
1, 2, you good next Monday?
I'll go with it.
6:30?
Yes.
6:30.
Okay.
So that's 1/27. Is that
Is
right?
it going to be for animal control or for the library?
Animal control.
I wanted to do
Just
both,
workshop?
but
Well, we can do it.
Yeah.
one dash what?
So when
What's
is
it,
it?
27?
So spirited, that's the kicker.
Jeez.
I'm with you. It's the same people. They're all gonna come and speak.
When does the library contract due?
6:30.
September.
You want to do a separate workshop for that, or?
I kind of
I want
wanted
to talk, let's talk through that for a second as to, Mary, you have a reason for not wanting to me, the people who would be concerned about both topics. And we don't want to spend 2 hours on either one of them. And so spending, giving a good solid hour for each kind of is a meeting. I just want to talk through it just a little bit more.
Because this says library contract and accreditation process, which was what the request was made by Ms. Paul, Councilman Paul. And the accreditation process is lengthy. I mean, y'all don't understand what that is, but that is something that when they come in there and tell you all the issues associated with that's gonna take a little while. And putting both of those on top of each other is not the right
And
answer.
there's no way that we could get the information for the accreditation process, that we could review it before the meeting?
There's publicly available on TESLAC.
You can go look at it now if you want, but my guess is you're gonna go, oh, what is this? You're gonna need Carol sitting
Well,
here
just like-
and tell you what's going on.
So let me
what
ask
it
you this.
means in
So
layman's
on
language.
our list of future items where library contracts and accreditation process is listed, that's because Councilmember Paul requested that we have a workshop specifically on it, not a agenda item for action. It's a workshop suggestion.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah, I think she wants to,
No, by
She
Mary,
told me she
Mary
didn't wanna
requested the
deal with
I
workshop.
thought it was, I thought
She
it was
didn't want
an action item,
she
not
didn't
a
want
There's no
workshop.
action.
I don't think she wants to do that anymore.
discussion.
She can withdraw it next meeting that she's here if she wants to. But I just, I think we need to, give them time and give them some heads up of when we're gonna go do this. And I told them
Oh,
it'd probably
yeah.
be March or April before we got
I mean, the
there.
contract
Oh, I
isn't
see.
up until September, so.
Right.
What do you suggest, Mr. Devaney? What do you-
Oh, I think this animal control thing is gonna consume
Yeah.
enough time, especially if
I
we
think
bring
so,
in
too.
the public and let all the hysteria that's going on with that go round and round. So,
Yeah, right.
I don't have a problem at all having a special meeting for that. It probably saves us on the next one, so
Yeah,
I
Agreed.
don't have any problem with
okay.
that.
And then that way we would be able to, if in fact we did,
Now, what we've done, of course, along that lines, we've provided paper copies, which was all we had on the original ordinance written in 2004, written and passed in 2004. And there was an agenda item in the 2018 to kind of rewrite the, I don't know whether it was to rewrite it or to start over. It looked to be like it was to start over, but or take a piece of that. Both of those have been provided to y'all.
Okay, I've got the documents here.
Go read
That's
them and
in
look
our-
at them.
It's in our mailbox, right?
Think through what we have, and then additionally, we are out gathering up the Texas laws that pertain to this, which is a good thing to understand. And gone to a couple of cities. I think you said you looked up San Antonio's.
Yes, sir.
Harry's been working on getting Buta's, which is a little closer to home, of what they do and how they handle that.
The ordinances, the dog.
Yeah, the animal control
okay.
ordinances, et cetera. But we need to go gather that information up and try to get it out by, if we're gonna talk about it on Monday, we need to get it out by Thursday at least, so. But I don't have a problem with having a meeting to go off and do that.
And is there something else on here that we can bundle up with it, that you would feel comfortable with, or you only wanna leave that?
I think, this is gonna be a big enough issue, I believe you could.
I agree.
We're gonna be here till midnight if you put too much, pretty much everything else on there.
summer
Yeah, I think it needs to be by itself. I think it's too much of a hot
Nobody-
topic right now.
This is just a discussion. It's not that we're actually gonna go through and like create the ordinance, right? It's gonna be
Yeah,
like,
but
it's
we
gonna be
wanna-
discussion and we're gonna work
The
through
public.
it, yeah.
But,
Yes, but I mean,
we want public input.
from past experiences, it will be very long.
Okay, so
Well,
then.
what's the purpose of having a workshop if we're not gonna go do something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
But it's not something that we're gonna vote on in action that night.
that night, no.
No, it
Well,
might
we
be
won't
something we
want to
could-
make it law that night, but we ought to be able to
say
sit here and going around the room and
Yes.
say, what do you think about this? We gonna put leashes on chickens or not? And
Hey, now.
well, you read that, it tells you gotta leash up your chickens, so.
Mayor Devaney,
Anyway,
I'm telling Elroy when I get home.
At least he's not a killer. So, the,
Chicken soup at Civic Day.
all right, so that gets us set for the next couple of weeks, we'll do
Yeah.
that, yeah. So that brings us to adjournment.
all right.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Closed down at 8:22.
By the way, good job on ETJ.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Mike, will you drop me off at the house?
Huh?
You drop me off at the house.
I can surely do that. Jan Bunker.
Did you bring a copy of that
I emailed it to
appendix?
you.
You did?
Hey, the next meeting, I'm gonna wear my shirt as a "Have a nice day, mother clucker."
I like that.
I'll sign it over.
There you go. Off we go.
How's it going?